1 Kings 7. To finish the building of his own house, Solomon took 13 years. He built the house of forest of Lebanon, 100 cubits long, 50 wide, 30 high, and was supported by 4 rows of cedar columns with cedar beams upon the columns. Moreover, it had a ceiling of cedar above the rafters resting on columns. Those rafters numbered 45, 15 to a row. There were lattices in 3 rows, each row facing the next, and all openings and doorposts were square from lintels, each facing across from the next. He also made the porch of columns, 50 cubits long and 30 wide. The porch extended across the front, and there were columns with the canopy in front of them. He also made the porch of the throne where he gave judgment, that is, the porch of judgments. It was paneled with cedar from floor to ceiling beams. The house in which he had lived was another court. Set in deeper than porch of the same construction, Solomon made a house of the porch for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had married. All these buildings were of fine stones hewn to size and trimmed front and back with saw, and from the foundation of the bonding course and outside as far as the great court. The foundation was made of fine large blocks, some 10 cubits, some 80 cubits. Above were fine stones hewn to size and cedar wood. The great court had 3 courses of hewn stone all around and course of cedar beams. So also were its inner courts of the house of the Lord, its porch. King Solomon brought Hiram from Tyre. He was a bronze worker, the son of a widow from the tribe of Naphtali. His father had been in Tyre. He was endowed with wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, doing any work in bronze. He came to King Solomon, did all his metalwork. He fastened 2 bronze columns, each 18 cubits high and 12 cubits in circumference. He also made 2 capital casts in bronze to be placed on top of the columns, each of them 5 cubits high. There were meshes made up of netting, and braid made up of chains and capitals on top of each column, 7 for each capital. He also cast pomegranates, 2 rows around each netting to cover the capitals on the top of the columns. The capitals on top of the columns in the porch were made like lilies 4 cubits high, and the capitals on the 2 columns, both above and adjoining the bulge, where it crossed out of the netting 200 pomegranates in a row around each capital. He set up the columns at the temple porch. One he set up in the south, and he called it Jachin, and the other to the north, and called it Boaz. The top of the columns was made a lily. Thus the work of the columns was complete. When he made the molten sea, it was made in circular rim and measured 10 cubits across, 5 in height, 30 in circumference. Under the brim, guards encircled for 10 cubits around the compass of the sea. The gourds were 2 rows, were cast in one mold with the sea. This rested on 12 oxen, 3 facing north, 3 facing west, 3 facing south, and 3 facing east, with their branches all toward the center. Upon them was set the sea. It was handbreadth thick, and its brim resembled that of a cup, being lily-shaped. Its capacity was 2,000 baths. So he made 10 stands of bronze, each 4 cubits long, 4 cubits wide, 3 cubits high. When these stands were constructed, panels were set within the framework. On the panel within the frames there were lions, oxen, cherubim, and on the frames likewise, above and below the lions and oxen, there were wreaths in hammered relief. Each stand had 4 bronze wheels and bronze axles, 4 legs of each stand, and cast braces which were under the basin. They had reeds on each side. The mouth of the basin was inside and a cubit above. The crown, whose opening was around, made a receptacle 1.5 cubits in depth. There was carved work on the opening on the panels that were square, not circular. The 4 wheels were below the paneling, and the axle trees of wheels and stands were of one piece. Each wheel was 1.5 cubits. The wheels were constructed like chariots' wheels. Their axle trims, rims, spokes, and hubs were all cast. The 4 braces reached the four corners of each stand and formed part of the stand. At the top of the stand there was a raised collar of a cubit high, and the handles and the panels on top of the stand formed part of it. On the flat ends of the handles and panels, where there was a bare space, cherubims, limes, and palm trees were carved, as well as wreaths all around. This was how he made the 10 stands, all the same casting, the same size and same shape. He made 10 bronze basins, each 4 cubits in diameter, with the capacity of 40 baths. 1 basin atop each of the 10 stands. He placed the stands 5 on the south side of the house and 5 on the north. The sea he placed off to the southeast from the south side of the house. When Hiram had made pots, shovels, bowls, he finished all his work for King Solomon in the house of the Lord. 2 columns, 2 nodes for the capitals on top of the columns. 2 pieces of netting covered the 2 nodes for capitals on top of the columns. 400 pomegranates in double rows on both pieces of the netting that covered 2 nodes from the capitals on top of the columns. 10 stands, 10 basins on stands, 1 sea, 12 oxen supporting the sea, pots, shovels, and bowls. All these articles which Hiram made for King Solomon in the house of the Lord were burnished bronze. The king had them cast into the neighborhood of Jordan between Succoth and Zarethan in thick clay molds. Solomon did not weigh all the articles because they were so numerous. The weight of the bronze, therefore, was not determined. Solomon made all the articles that were for the house of the Lord: the golden altar, the tables on which the showbread lay, the lampstand of pure gold, 5 to the right and 5 to the left before the inner sanctuary, their flowers, lamps, and tongs of gold, basins, snuffers, bowls, cups, and fire pans of pure gold, hinges of gold for the doors of the innermost part of the house, or holiest holies, and for the doors of the outer room, the nave. When all the work undertaken by the King Solomon in the house of the Lord was completed, he brought in the votive offerings of his father David and put the silver, gold, and other articles in the treasury of the house of the Lord.